Shock podcast, side podcast, for our consideration.
Yes,
That's what it's called.
that is what it's called.
Today we are here to talk about two very special films with two very special boys. We have two very esteemed guests joining us today, two titans of podcasting who run what is genuinely one of my favourite podcasts out there, and I'm not just saying that because they're kind of my pals at this point. It genuinely is a hilarious podcast, universally speaking, Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. Whether you're a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan or not, you should download this podcast. It is such a laugh. And we are joined by two young brothers on a hovercraft, Ben Townsend and Sam Townsend. How are you doing, lads?
Hello, thank you. Very well, thank you. Thank you for those very kind words. Yes, we're here together in the freezing cold garage, ready to go.
It's bitter. Yeah, thank you, Dan. That was lovely. What a lovely introduction.
No, I appreciate you guys coming on. I mean, a long time ago, Ben told me that the two things he can talk about for a long time is aliens and the Chili Peppers. So it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Oh, I'm ready to go. Just wind me up.
Yeah.
And I suppose the main reason that we're doing these aliens films is because this is the guest choice. So really, me and Courtney were fans of these movies, but I think you guys are going to be the experts here.
Yes,
but
well,
yeah.
Ben certainly is. I will chip in when I can.
We have a lot of history. We have a lot of
do.
history together, watching these films, reenacting these films, quoting these films, playing games based on these films. Oh, yeah. I mean, if it wasn't the Chili's that brought us together, it was the film Aliens, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. We didn't think they had many legs.
Yeah, you're almost overqualified. So, right, but before we go on to Aliens, because we all know that's really what we're here to talk about, let's go through the first movie, because I don't know, I love the two. I still don't know my preference. I think I'll maybe think about it during this episode, and I might come back with something at the end. But the first movie, obviously hugely influential to sci-fi and horror, and it launched Ridley Scott's career and also Sigourney Weaver's career. 1979. Do you guys remember that coming out, or am I insulting you by even suggesting that?
Are you taking the piss?
What was your first experience with that first Alien film?
Well, we're going to have to start with a little tale about aliens to get us to Alien, if that's all right.
Okay. Yep.
My 13th birthday, I went to a TGI Fridays with my mum and my dad and my granny. On the way back, driving home from Fairham, they said, there's a film on the TV, starts at 9 o'clock, called Aliens. Do you want to watch it?
And you were 13?
I was 13.
That's
Well, only just 13.
It's an 18.
No, it's not the TV cut, because they take all the swearing out.
What about the aliens?
Oh, okay.
They left that in. So actually, when we get to the film Aliens, our first experience with that was completely swearing free. And that's the version that still sticks in my head.
That's true. Yeah, I still in my mind don't swear when they swear.
No, I bet you still say you rat. You'd probably say you rat fat son of a bitch rather than you rat fuck son of a bitch.
Yes. Yeah.
And so we were driving home, got home, started the film, missed the first couple of minutes, but then threw a tape on and taped it, adverts and all, so you can tell you where all the ad breaks are as well. Yeah. And honestly, it changed my life. It was a film that then I told Sam about. He wasn't allowed to watch it, so if our parents went out, we'd put it in, and I'd show you Bishop getting torn in half.
Yeah, so like me, did you see Aliens first?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did, and actually, I've seen Alien a number of times over the years, but nowhere near as many times as Aliens, and probably less than 10. So
those first two films have got very different tones. Were you quite surprised then when you went back to Alien? Were you expecting more of a kind of action flick? And
absolutely.
then you get a slow burn horror film?
Well, when I went back to Alien, I was 14 or 15. And so it was a real slog.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is a slog. I watched it for the first time in a long time this week. I said to my wife, it's very slow. But the first hour I really enjoyed because of the tense build up. The second hour I still enjoyed it obviously, but I have to say I did find it very, very slow, and haven't seen it for a while, and there are lots of not necessarily holes in it, but things that I just thought weren't particularly great. And a lot of that is due to its age.
I grew into it. I didn't like it much when I was 14 or 15, but
now you
watching it over the years, I think it's
Yeah.
genuinely one of the most visually
I think that's
beautiful films.
Yeah, it's definitely a more mature film than the second one, or than others similar to the second one, like Predator or anything. It's definitely.
Oh yeah, the franchise definitely got dumber after the second movie.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I think that's
a
why.
given.
That's why I started to enjoy the films more.
Yeah, you love Alien versus Predator Requiem, don't you?
Yeah. I enjoy the kills in those movies, but the films themselves are hard
terrible
to sit through. But I suppose that first movie, and I guess to some extent I'd say the second one as well, in comparison with the rest of them, are more highbrow than where the series went. And definitely more highbrow than Predator. I love Predator. That first Predator with Arnie.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm going to
It's
go
a
out on
classic.
and say I prefer Predator.
You prefer Predator?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
To Alien or to Aliens,
to
Courtney?
Both.
To both.
Oh, okay.
We're
okay.
leaving.
Well,
Get to
I
the
think
chopper!
I'm certainly. I think I might be with you on Alien. No, but maybe not. I'm not sure.
I mean, when I'm in the mood to watch Predator, there's no better film, and certainly the kind of last 2/3 of Predator, absolutely amazing.
Should we do the?
Oh, should we do the arm wrestle?
Just like Carl Weathers and Slice and Arnie Daniels just sliced one.
Yeah. Underneath this is an Arnold arm.
And I've got Carl Weathers arm.
It's pure raw pythons.
Yeah.
But out of the three of them, if I had to rank them, I'm saying Alien. I think it's my favourite out of the three. The first Alien film.
It's definitely a better film. But if you were to sit me down on a Friday night and say, here, out of these three films, what do you want me to put on? I would say Predator.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
I can see that.
Yeah, I mean it's Aliens all the way.
I can see watching Predator is a Friday night beer film. Watching Predator.
Going back to the first film, because we watched it the other night again for the first time in a while. I just kind of came across that film. That film's obviously been about for as long as we have. Both of the Aliens films have been about for as long as we have. So we've just kind of grown up with them. Mm-hmm. Like I remember seeing them in the video shop when I was young and being like, "What are these? The Alien quadrilogy? What's this?"
Oh, mate.
And then I think that was my first experience. I think my dad rented it for me out of Global Video or somewhere, and I watched the four of them back to back. So I had this sort of amalgamated good, bad, all the kind of everything, for up till Resurrection kind of in my head. And it was only kind of years later when I was like trying to kind of educate myself about decent films. I was going back to like Kubrick's best stuff and whatever, and Ridley Scott's best stuff, and then that's when I was like, right, okay.
Being a wee snob.
Yeah, being a wee slut, shut. And then watching Gladiator, watching whatever other Ridley Scott films in it, and then kind of coming across Alien and watching that as its own movie on its own. I mean, it was also, I think, very influenced by the other slashers of that era, like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street and these other movies. I mean, it really is that on a spaceship, but taken a bit more seriously. I mean, there's no real comedy in Alien. That is very kind of straight down the middle. There's not the sequel definitely has more humour in it, I'd say, in terms of the sort of the camaraderie between the cast and stuff. The first one is. The first one's more of a kind of lonely film, I think. It's more of a kind of introspective, stalkery, slow burn film, which I enjoy. I don't know, maybe if that's why I prefer that first film.
I think there's a lot to be said for what you said about the slasher elements, and it's Ridley Scott called it a haunted house in space.
Sure.
So you can't run out into the garden and escape. But I do find humour in Alien. I like the relationship between Parker and Brett, the engineers.
Yeah.
That what I love about Alien is the overlapping dialogue style of it. So when they're sat around a table, just bantering, throwing stuff to each other, I really truly believe what I'm seeing. And with Brett just constantly saying, "Right." Yeah, that was my irony, actually. Sorry. And he didn't play Brett. Right. No, that's terrible. And when they're down in they're fixing it, and Ripley comes down to see them, and they're shouting over all this steam that's going on. And then when Ripley bogs off, they just switch it off, and they were just, messing with her.
No, I get what you're saying about how it's. I don't know. It's a sort of film that it did push the boundary, and I think when something's, I think the mark of like a classic is parody, and how much something's parodied really cements it in pop culture. And when you consider how much that scene with John Hurt and the alien chestbuster, that first scene, has been parodied, it's just drummed it into all of us. Like, and there's nobody that doesn't know that scene. It's just became a kind of part of our.
My brothers were young when the film came out. It's as old as my sister, because my sister was born in the same year. But my brothers had a T-shirt with the alien coming out of the T-shirt.
Nice.
And it was like stuck to his belly, and he almost killed my mum because he put it on a broomstick and stuck it against a cupboard door. And she opened the cupboard door and it like came at her, and that was how my brother died.
Was it like a 3D thing? Was it like stuck to the T-shirt?
Out,
oh, that's cool.
Like
nice. Like a rubber thing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, Dan. Just to go back to what Ben was saying about the relationship that you see with the crew before it all goes wrong.
That's where it's so good.
That's what I enjoy about it. I really enjoy that, and it really adds to the impact of what happens.
Yeah.
And after that kind of element of the film goes away, really, and you don't get so much of that in the second half. So
what's superbly done is the Ash character, Ian Holmes' character.
Yeah.
On a rewatch, when you know what's going on, when you know he's a company synthetic, his eyes throughout the whole film, watching people, especially during the chestburster scene, when John Hurt first starts, even before John Hurt first starts to react, he's just watching him.
Yeah.
And he's, of course, he's a person that says no, leave it, and all of that. And we don't.
He is constantly the one who, and the first time you watch it, you don't realise. They kind of hint towards things, don't they? That something's not quite right with him.
Well, he's collating.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. So it's very, very cleverly done, actually. And actually, they try to kind of half-heartedly do the same with Bishop in Aliens.
No, I don't think they half-heartedly do it. I think they absolutely do it. It's only at the point when when Bishop volunteers to go through the pipe to get the other dropship from Sulaco that it's revealed that he's a good guy. Up until that point, there's lots of parallels between him and Ash.
Yeah, they're trying to make you think that it's going to go the same way.
Even to the point where Bishop says to Ripley, "I'll go and keep an eye on Gorman and continue my studies," which mirrors when Ash is saying, "I'm still collating."
Yes,
yeah.
And that,
Yeah, I think that's what can be said about the first movie as well. The second movie, obviously, it's Ripley coming into a group of guys and the female, and they can already know each other, and there's a pre-established relationship there. Mm-hmm. But in that first movie, I think you really do believe that they've all been on a ship together for a while.
For a long time.
You kind of buy the history, and they all have their own personal history with each other. And I think that was sold quite well in the script and by the performances in that first movie.
Absolutely right. And actually, something that was taken out of the film was the fact that there was sexual relationships between a lot of the people on the ship. That was one of the first things that was in the script. And I think I can't remember who's sleeping with who, but everybody's, and they weren't worried. They were saying, well, men can sleep with women, women can sleep with women, men can sleep with men, and that ended up being taken out of the script. But yeah, certainly the fact that they know each other back to front. Apart from Ash, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever flown out there? No, first trip.
I didn't know what you were going to ask me
then. But yeah, that scene with the android, I found that when we were rewatching it, I found it really sinister. Like how determined he is to just put Ripley down, and that kind of cold lifting the magazine and rolling it up and shoving it in her throat. Like it's really systematic and devoid of any sort of, morals.
It's also a very strange way to try and kill someone.
No, I think the reason they chose to do that was because it's a representation. It's a phallic representation because he doesn't have a willy, for want of a better
Phallus,
word.
if you will.
You should be a therapist, Ben.
I should,
Right.
and so that's his way of trying to experience that human experience.
Well, thank goodness he chose to do it that way, because that just gave the others enough time to come and save him.
Yeah.
Had he just beaten her around the head with
that fire extinguisher,
With
which was
anything like
readily
that.
available.
yeah. Oh, I think I'll get this magazine and stuff it in your mouth to represent a phallus.
One of the things that I really love in that scene, and it's really weird, is there's a point where the camera is handheld and the cameraman backs off and goes through the those jingly things that are hanging down.
Oh yeah.
And the cameraman backing through them makes them move, and so you can see that as the camera then passes through them. And Ian Holm reacts to that noise, so it's a completely fourth wall break.
Yeah, it's quite voyeuristic. Yeah.
Once you realise that those things should be moving, because that cameraman shouldn't really be there.
No.
But the fact, I suppose,
And why isn't if the cameraman's there, why isn't he helping Ripley?
Well, he's
that is a whole other sinister element, isn't it?
Yeah,
He's got his own rolled up magazine.
But
presumably.
just prior to that, can we just touch on the fact that Ash gets into the mother room
very quietly,
without Ripley realizing.
Yeah, he's right behind her. Yeah.
No authorization at all.
No door noises.
No.
He's just all of a sudden he's there.
Must know how to mute them because he's a robot. He must know how to mute the noises.
No, that's a very good point. That's
it
makes for a lovely reveal as she sits back and he's to the side of her. But it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but I mean, all good reveals need to make sense.
That's a whole other topic.
Yeah, what does everyone make of the whole concept of mother?
I said this to you the other night. It really makes me uncomfortable.
I mean, it's obviously, I would take it as a homage to 2001. I've always kind of looked at it that way, but it does seem a bit half-baked at certain points. It's not really focused on towards the end of the film, and then after that, do they come back to that at all in any other movies? I can't even remember.
They do in Resurrection, because the computer on the Auriga is called Father.
Right, okay. But it just, I think the fact that it was just something that dropped and didn't kind of make so prevalent makes it a bit... It almost, sometimes when you rewatch it, you're like, oh, that's right, it's like 2001, but you kind of forget that's an element of it, I think, until you rewatch it.
Yeah, no, I think I'm with you on that. And I just think when they're asking her questions about, how can we kill the alien, and she says, I don't know, and I just think, well, of course she doesn't know. Why would
she does know, she's just not telling him.
Well, true. Yeah, true.
But
how, I suppose you just got to buy into the fact that
she's part of the problem.
She's part of and she's all-seeing. And
talking about Mother, obviously, she's a part of the... She was also developed by Weyland-Yutani and stuff, and I think that's another big part of what gave this movie its staying power was the set design and the sort of the late 70s look into the future. The devices and even just stuff in the background that's not even that focused on is super detailed and memorable.
It's my favourite part of the film.
Yeah, I think that, along with the design of the alien, all kind of amalgamates into this totally unique look that hadn't really been done ever at that point. It was something totally different for audiences, I think. It's obviously been aped and copied a lot since, but yeah.
It's really interesting the way they approached the design.
This film by studying it in school. Yeah, and when we studied it in school, I had never seen it before.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like, I remember you telling me that you actually liked Alien, and then you told me you studied it in school, and I was like, there's a film you studied in school that you still like? Like, every film I studied in school, it ruined it.
So it definitely did. It definitely put me off it for quite a while, and then when we went back and watched it the other night, that was my first time watching it in a while, since probably when I studied it in school. But when we studied it in school, the whole design of everything, like the set and everything, the alien, I remember our teacher putting such a premise on the fact that had never been done before, and there's always that idiot in the class that was like, oh, but it's in this, and she was like, but that was made after that. That was made to look like that because this looked like that. And it's, it definitely...
I also think, obviously, it came out in that era where horror was very much still practical. So I think the fact that that the actors were in the room with the actual creature and the sets were real, you could reach out and touch them. It wasn't green screens and it wasn't added in post. I think that really adds to it and helps it's helped to age well, I think.
And I think it's with it being so practical, it's really helped because none of the other cast knew that the alien was going to come out of John Hurt's stomach. So all of their reactions are all their actual reactions of like, oh my god, what is going on?
Yeah.
And then they just take it from there. And I feel like that's something that can really get missed now when there's so much CGI being used.
Yeah, I think they were told something was going to happen, like he was going to drop dead or something, but I don't think they expected
they didn't know that
the
there was
chest
going
burster.
to be something bursting out.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, they'd read the script, obviously, so they knew something was going to happen, but they didn't know exactly what, and they didn't know just how violent.
Yeah, I always appreciate that when you get a genuine reaction to an actor, like The Godfather, when he wakes up with a head in his bed. And
I love it when Veronica Cartwright gets absolutely covered in blood, and Veronica Cartwright is incredible in this film.
She does, yes,
but she is.
Yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Completely covered in. It's brilliant. But just to think about the way the film was designed again for a second, it was a split between Ron Cobb designing all of the science fiction elements, so the interiors of Nostromo, the way everything like that looks, and H.R. Giger doing all of the alien stuff. So you have two completely different visions of the world that marry so perfectly.
Well, that's perfect, isn't it?
Because, exactly. So the alien's really, really alien.
Yeah.
And the Nostromo is just built from bits of stuff that they bought from, breaking down helicopters. Similar to Aliens. Both films just took stuff that existed, broke it down, and just made it sculpted out of real things.
I think it's a contrast of like something that's so organic but not humanoid. Obviously, it's not getting any eyes and whatever. And then you've got something that's so inorganic with this kind of industrial, cold corridors and stuff. And that kind of contrast is just really effective, I think, on screen.
Yeah, it does look brilliant. And it's, like you say, that the use of the practical effects both helps it age well, but also means that at times it ages very badly.
Yeah.
At times you can tell it's a guy in a suit. Yeah.
Yeah, and some of the other things as well. I guess just generally,
like Ash.
Yeah, Ash's head.
Yeah, that cut. I guess when
that match
like moving his head and it's him that speaks, and then it flops back to being like a rubber head.
Yeah.
That is the worst match cut in cinema history. Yeah. I do not know why. It's not just the fact that it's not just the fact that his head.
But yeah, it's up there.
It looked better before because I love the way that Ripley's putting his head on and she's so carefully placing it on the side so that when they cut to Ian Holmes' actual head, it's in the same position.
Yeah, then just goes.
Yeah, and at that point it looks a bit better, but the second one is woeful.
But the background's not even the same.
No,
it's not even a locked off camera. It's not even a locked off camera. It's ridiculous.
It was filmed on a different day. But what we were saying, we were talking about the practical elements. We were talking about, the only thing about the movie I felt after rewatching it, I remembered it being a bit more violent than it was. When we rewatched it, and it was, so we were going to discuss the different cuts of the movie and the versions we just watched. The version me and you watched the other night was the theatrical cut.
Same there.
It was surprisingly bloodless for a lot of it. The most bloody scene is the John Hurt scene. The kills towards the end of the movie, a lot of it's off screen, and I guess an element of that was probably the thinking behind that. The whole thing about Jaws, the whole reason this shark was so scary in Jaws was because you didn't see it. The scariest part were the parts you didn't see, and you were, imagining it. And then when it was on screen, it was a big rubber shark. Whereas this time round, as a guy in a suit. So again, I think the use of the darkness and shadows and the camera angles and stuff hiding certain parts of the alien. There's certain scenes in the movie you only see certain parts of its body.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really effective, and that's when it's most terrifying. And I guess it's the same even nowadays when you play a horror game. I find until you see the monster, that's the scariest part. Once you know what's chasing you, it's like, okay, I know what to expect now. But when you don't see it, that's that anticipation, I think, adds to the fear. And I think Ridley Scott kind of conducts that really well in this movie. Up until a point, up until it becomes a guy in a suit.
When he gets
the scene of Ripley blasting out the airlock is definitely the hardest to watch.
That's the one. That's the one.
Yeah.
Well,
although I really like the fact. I love the fact though that she didn't just blast him out. I like the fact that he's still tethered with a gun, and then she has to blast him out the engine. I just think that adds an extra wee something. Like I guess it means you get to see the guy on screen for longer, which is a bit naff. But I don't know. I think any other horror movie would have just blasted him out, and that would have been it. But the fact that it added that wee extra step, I appreciate that.
I mean,
It's extra tension.
That harpoon gun must have gone deep to withstand the vacuum of space.
The vacuum of space, yeah.
And also, it's classic escape pod tactics to have a harpoon gun on there.
You know, you've got your spacesuit. You're going out into space, presumably.
Here's a harpoon gun.
what you're definitely going to need is a harpoon
Why?
gun.
Is there a harpoon gun in there?
Right, as we now know, it's an extra.
I don't know, but I bet you're glad there is. I'm glad there was.
If you fall off and you're going away from the ship, like George Clooney and Thingy,
I've just realised something as
you
well.
can harpoon back onto the ship.
The alien, if you pierce the body of the alien, the harpoon, whatever sticks in it would melt because it's acid for blood. So
not this.
Yeah.
This.
Yeah.
So that makes no sense.
Gun.
Oh, it's an acid-proof harpoon gun.
It's an acid-proof harpoon gun.
Yeah, it really is a very, very good harpoon gun.
So that actually makes no sense.
Nor does the fact that when Ripley goes towards the alien, he just flops his arm down. She gets in the cupboard and it just lays there.
yeah, but he's just lying in there for a while. That's a bit. Yeah.
I mean, he's killed a lot of people.
Yeah, he's tired.
Like, he's
He
tired.
needs a wee rest.
I'll get to you in a minute.
Ridley Scott did talk about the
get
fact
your harpoon gun, and then we'll reconvene this meeting in a minute.
Ridley Scott did talk about the fact that maybe it's coming towards the end of the alien's life cycle. But it's, as you said, Sam, when we talked about this earlier, he's only been alive a day.
Yes. This perfectly formed and evolved killing machine that lives for less than a day.
Yeah, lives for a shorter time than a moth.
Yeah. It has to act fast.
I also think what's really fascinating when you go back to these movies that are now kind of icons of pop culture and stuff, they obviously didn't know at the time whether they would get a sequel. Like, they were making this, late 70s on a budget, whatever. And yet, see the amount of setup that they do. Like, they introduced the acid blood thing, and that's not really used as much in this movie. That's used way more in the later movies and Aliens. They introduced this idea of this shady company behind all this that want this alien back. Again, we don't actually explicitly see anyone from the company. We don't even see a company logo, I don't think, in that first movie. So they just, a lot of it is suggested, and I guess it worked out because they got to expand on it in the sequels. But I just think it's a hell of a lot of foresight for a low budget late 70s horror movie.
You talk about the acid for blood. That actually comes, I think, just because they need a reason why they can't just cut the facehugger off in the first place.
Right? Yeah.
And then it becomes bigger in the later, because otherwise you just pull the legs
out
off.
of necessity and became a.
Yeah, so it's going to tear his face off.
Yeah.
So it's going to tear his face off if you pull it off. You can't cut the fingers because it's acid for blood.
Because of the acid.
Yeah, it's very clever. I think the facehugger, talking about the practical effects again and what's good and what's bad. The facehugger is one of the best practical effects in any film ever.
Agreed.
When it explodes out of that egg, when it's on John Hurt's face, and of course in this
when
film
it's
it doesn't
wrapping
move.
around its neck.
Like
Just tightens up.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about the death. You were saying that Captain Dallas is the worst captain.
Captain Dallas is the worst captain in any of the films ever made.
Like, I guess you needed Ripley to become the kind of front person, but Jesus Christ, he is very inept. He just panics, like, and then pisses off at an event, and then
shouting and mansplaining, and then goes back to being like, "Oh, we're fine then." And then it's like, "Oh, this is your fault." No, not a fan.
Yeah, he's not the best captain in the world.
Not
Even
a fan of
at that
Dallas.
point.
No,
Dallas was. I don't know. I don't think Dallas was equipped enough well to deal with that situation.
French, sorry, Mum, but Dallas is a dick.
Well, I just wondered, when he goes off on his own and he's in those really tight ventilation shafts.
Yeah.
And he knows what he's facing, and he's weighed himself down with the biggest light he could possibly carry. A huge flamethrower, which he's never going to be able to use effectively because he's got this massive light in his hand. What's he expecting?
Also, a flamethrower is not a close range weapon.
No, but he's probably just taking that because somebody said, "You shouldn't take that," and he goes, "I'm the captain, I'm going to take it."
Maybe that's why in the sequel they have the line about the shotgun.
I've never heard such a diatribe against Captain Dallas. This is fantastic.
He had it coming.
That scene where he's going through the vents has a couple of things to say about that.
Yes.
One, the closing of the circular things and the sound design
Love that.
is amazing.
Yeah.
But also the problem they're having here is he's in a 3D structure because he's going down ladders and across shafts, but they're using a 2D system of knowing where him and the alien are, which gets him in the end because they're saying it's coming straight towards you.
Yeah.
And then he climbs down a ladder, and that's where it is because they're not seeing in 3D; they're seeing in 2D.
But they also didn't fix that by the second movie because when they're like, "Oh, the thing must be in the room and it's above them," it's still a problem.
Boom, Dan. Yes, that's why you're an internationally famed podcaster. For that kind of stuff.
But the technology that they're using in the first film.
Oh, it's bollocks.
Well,
Micro changes in air density, my ass.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you. But by the second film, although it's still a flawed technology, they've made it look a lot better. So I personally buy into it a lot more just because, it seems quite cool by then.
The motion tracker is a generator of tension because they don't need to put an alien on screen. Yeah. You just look at and it's the same in the first one. You don't need to put it on screen, just look at the blob.
And indeed, the aliens don't feature as much in Aliens as you might think they do.
Well, when I was watching it, I checked the timestamps. The first time you see an alien, when you see the facehugger, is 40 minutes in Aliens. The first time you see an actual fully grown warrior alien is an hour in.
Wow.
And that just proves my point. Thank you, Ben.
No, it's no problem.
Speaking of which, unless you guys have got any, you guys have got anything else to say about Aliens, shall we move on to the sequel?
I just wanted to mention poor Ian Holmes for playing Ash when he gets so sick from the milk.
All the milk. It was rotten milk, wasn't it?
It was milk, and then because of the heat of the shot, it turned, and he done so many takes with it that he ended up so ill with food poisoning. And I just feel like you need to be credited for that.
I do give him credit. Same thing happened with Lance Henriksen on Aliens.
And the sequel,
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
And that was and there's so much of it. Like there's so much milk,
much white stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of milk.
Yeah, so it's so effective. I do have one thing to say about genuinely great practical effects and genuinely terrible practical effects. The facehugger is amazing. The alien, when it's used judiciously, is amazing. But and the chest burster is amazing. There's never been a scene like it, which is completely bollocksed up when it runs off the table.
Yeah, that's
straight off.
That is slightly comedic. That scene where it runs across the table. Yeah. But, was it Spaceballs where you've got the thing doing the dance with the stick and stuff?
Is that John Hurt as well? There,
I think it was. I think they got him back for it. Yeah. But yeah, let's move on to Aliens. Because although I don't maybe feel it's a superior movie, I feel like I'm in the minority here. So yeah, totally different kind of change of gear, but still a great companion piece for that first movie. I think the fact that the movie opens right where the first one leaves off, those two just click together so well. Even though we're talking a different director, we're talking a different decade. This was like 1986, right? So a good deal of time had passed, but it just feels, when you're watching the two back to back, it feels like a perfect kind of jigsaw piece for the first one.
Yeah.
When you do watch them back to back, as I did, that really shines, because what Cameron does at the beginning of Alien is he said that he mirrors Ridley Scott's style. And as Alien starts, of course, you've got the Narcissus escape shuttle, but you have a scene where there's a blue laser light covered in smoke. So you have exactly the same effect that you had in Alien in the egg chamber, just in a completely different context.
Excellent.
I'm going to get my notebook out, because I've done.
It does. It does make it very seamless.
Yeah, I think it does. And the first time, as we said earlier, I watched Aliens before I watched Alien, so I wasn't able to appreciate that until later on. But watching them both this week, it just stands out so much that he put that attention to detail into the very first scene, and also the opening credits. Where he sort of partially reveals the title, as had been done in Alien.
Sure.
It slowly builds up to reveal the full word.
And then that great eye opens up, the letter I, and floods the screen.
Yeah. So it felt to me as if it had obviously been done on purpose, but very effectively done.
So yeah, we spoke about our first experience with the first film, and you kind of touched on your first experience with this film. But do you want to give us the detailed edition of it? So this is the one you went around to. No, that was the one you borrowed from a school friend, right? That was the third movie.
Well, she wasn't a friend; she was a complete stranger. I heard a rumor.
Right, okay.
I heard a rumor that a girl in the 5th year had a copy of Alien 3, a pirate copy.
So she wasn't even in your year, no.
No, I'd never met her before in my life. My friend I was in art, and somebody told me that this girl, I won't name her on the pod, but
no way.
said she's got a pirate copy of Alien 3. Brilliant. What's her name? Where does she live? Got the information. Walked up to her house, knocked on the door. Hello, I'm Ben. I've heard you've got a copy of Alien 3. Can I borrow it? She said yes. Took it back home.
The rest is history.
Well, it's all history.
30 years later, you're married.
Yeah. But it was a terrible copy.
It was the worst.
You talking about Alien 3 now?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was the worst copy in the world. It's a dark film to start off with, Alien 3.
Yeah.
And this was a copy of a copy of a copy.
Right.
That really affected our feelings towards Alien 3 for a long time, didn't it?
It did. It was only later on. Anyway, we're supposed to talk about Alien.
So the Aliens was the one that you videotaped, right?
Aliens I taped off the TV, yeah. Yeah, on my 13th.
Adverts and all in the censored version with the changed dialogue and the cutscenes and...
Yeah, you rat fat son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, no swearing. I mean, there's not a huge amount of swearing in it anyway.
No, there's not. Again, that was something when we revisited it the other night, I remembered being way more adult than it was.
See, when you revisited it the other night, really, it was my first time ever watching it.
Oh my god!
Oh, so
hang on.
You simply visited it.
Yeah, first time. Just a nice.
Okay,
Yeah,
in that case, can we get Courtney's first thoughts?
I mean, you must be absolutely thrilled.
Do you know? Again, because I studied the first one in school, I was a bit apprehensive going into this one, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm sick of the first one. And then I watched the second one, and as I said before, huge fan of the Predator films, love them. This is definitely more along the tone of those films. So I find it a really enjoyable watch. I thought it was really good. I mean, I couldn't get my head around the fact that the guy that plays Boggs in Shawshank Redemption is a good guy in this film, so it took me a while to adjust to that.
Yeah,
but,
Mark Drake, yeah.
Yeah, but no, I did. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite a good watch. I wouldn't mind watching it again.
Yeah. As I told you that beforehand, I was like, this is a totally different change of pace. Like, it's not the same kind of film.
And when she woke up from the dream of it being 56 years later, I was like, is it actually 56 years later, or was that just a dream? He's like, no, it is.
Oh, yeah. That's not particularly clear in the theatrical cut, is it?
It was a director's cut we watched, because am I right in saying the director's cut's the one that mentions Amanda Ripley?
Yeah, and you see the pictures and...
Well, that was the version we watched, yeah. So that would have been the director's cut, I think.
Yeah, because in the theatrical cut, Burke is giving that first visit, and he says about the 56 years, and then she goes into the nightmare with the chest burster.
Yeah,
and so you're not 100% sure whether that's actually...
No, that is a dream sequence, and it's a weird introduction because you go into a dream sequence, but you are then meant to believe all the facts that you've been told.
That's right. Yeah. So,
yeah. And also, I think the whole how shady Paul Reiser plays it as well, with how everything he could be saying could be total horseshit to just manipulate Ripley. Like, can you trust anything that's coming out of this guy's mouth?
We'll get into how good he is.
You can't. It turns out, but
the theatrical version is the version I grew up on, and you grew up on, and is my favourite version. I find the special edition too long. You don't need to see
quite a
the
long
Jordans.
film anyway.
You don't need to see the Jordans go to find that. Go and get face hugged. All of the stuff with the sentry guns is great, but it's
The sentry gun thing I really do enjoy.
yeah.
When did you see the uncensored version, the proper version of the film with the no cuts, no changed dialogue, etc.?
The first time we saw that was when the special edition was released. I went down to Hive and
Right, yeah,
bought
you
it on
bought it.
VHS from Martin's.
Yeah, so that would have been a few years later.
Yeah.
And did that feel like a totally different experience, or did it just add? Was it better? Was it an improved version, or was it just as good?
I couldn't believe they swore in it.
No. Well, I actually did feel like it fleshed it out a bit more, and I do prefer the director's cut. I think it's very long, but I do think it does add to the overall.
It's too long. What I'd be interested in, Courtney, is
Yeah,
if you watch the theatrical cut, and because that's about 2 hours, just 2 hours 10 minutes maybe.
We watched a 2.5-hour cut, and you did say it was a bit long.
It was.
At the end.
I did feel its length towards the end, Jay.
In
I
the
would be
theatrical,
interested to watch the theatrical one.
when the theatrical, you lose all the stuff with Newt's family going and finding the alien ship from the first
Oh,
film.
right, okay.
You lose all of the sentry gun stuff, and so that's a good chunk of, because you do not need to know how that the alien got to Hadley's Hope.
No, I agree with that.
Because you just work it out yourself.
No, you're probably right. Yeah, fair
I
enough,
also
but
mentioned to you
enjoyed it.
that if you changed Newt and you changed Jones from a cat and a child both to a dog, you would cut out half the film.
Because the dog would come looking for
The
you.
dog would come looking for you. You wouldn't have to go chasing the dog.
That's
But I
right.
mean, they really did just replace the cat with a child,
Yeah.
didn't they? Like,
Yeah.
straight up.
Well, that's right, and they use it in the same way. Ripley has to go back to get the cat.
Yeah.
He has to go back to try and save Newt. Oh, look at that!
But my favourite performance in that second film was still Bill Paxton. I love
It's
I
awesome.
I love Paxton and everything. And I think he carries so much kind of just what's going on, man, and really just kind of. I mean, that's what I would be doing in that situation.
There's
So
a scene where he's just screaming, and I just went.
4
"That's
more
him."
weeks and out.
Yeah, that's right. And actually, he's probably the only character across the two films who acts in a way that you think is believable.
Yeah.
Look at Thingy when he goes into the ship in Alien.
yeah,
He falls down, the egg starts to open.
What?
And
Kane.
he just casually peers in. Oh, look at this, nothing to worry
What's
about.
going on?
Yeah. Don't look in there.
climb out, mate. Yeah, and even
Yeah,
the fall's like not that
starts
convincing.
to move.
No, it's not. It's not.
Run away.
He just lies down and rolls into a nest of eggs, then looks at one. It's like,
I'll go back to Veronica Cartwright.
Whereas,
actually,
hang on, let me
because
finish.
Veronica
If
Cartwright
that
is really
had been Hudson, he'd have been, get me the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
the doors are open."
Yeah.
He would.
Exactly.
So,
But that's what Veronica Cartwright is like in Alien. She is the person who's saying, "Look, let's just get the fuck
let's
out of
just, yeah, true. But yes,
Yeah.
Bill Paxton, excellent. It's always a difficult one when he gets dragged down.
It's and when the alien hand comes across his
The
face on that cut, lovely.
But
I think
I love John Hurt as well. No heart with John Hurt.
no, we won't hurt.
He should just be,
Ah,
just be more careful when faced with an alien egg.
Well, this is the problem with Prometheus and those films as well. Obviously, again, directed by Ridley Scott. You've just got people making twattish decisions that you shouldn't make.
Yeah, bad
Yeah.
decision making.
Is this kind of in Prometheus? Is this kind of snake-like creature coming up and looking at you? What are you going to do? Are you going to stare straight at it or fuck off?
Yeah, you'd run a mile, wouldn't you?
Yeah, Prometheus was a bit of a misstep.
Yeah, and we better not get into it. But in Aliens, I think it's flawlessly cast. All of the Marines. This is as we were growing up, Sam. We would go out into the forest. We'd go to Army surplus stores, buy old World War One stuff. Remember those old World War One leather belts?
Lovely leather belts.
We'd camo ourselves up, make the body armor out of
In
cardboard.
fact, you made a pulse rifle that was so heavy
Well, I was
made out of
assisted in that.
solid
It was
steel.
made out of steel and
It
it was
was the
welded together. couldn't pick it
The
up.
heaviest thing you can imagine.
You could probably kill someone with it if you hit them with it.
Yeah, you'd have to hit them with it.
But you wouldn't be able to hit them with it because it was so heavy. If you tried to hit them with it, you'd be like Ripley when
fall
she was
backwards.
hitting the alien at the end of the Aliens.
Yeah, you're in a power loader.
Yeah.
Can I introduce you to a personal friend of mine?
Yes.
This is the M41A pulse rifle,
With a,
10mm with an over and under 30mm pump action grenade launcher.
what's a gun?
Yeah, that is an iconic weapon if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pulse rifle was great. The just talk again about the practicality of the suits and of the sets and of the guns.
Are you going to talk about the thing I watched shot in?
What, the power loader?
The suit.
Yeah. Like the fact that it was all there and it was all tangible equipment. It just adds such an extra layer to the film, I think.
Oh, it looks so good. It looks so good. The power, as designs go, the power loader is not only iconic, but it's led on to so many other designs that follow that. If you think about James Cameron himself in Avatar, at the end of that, he's basically in a power suit. If you think about District 9, the end of District 9 is someone in a power suit. The power loader was groundbreaking. And it was all, as you say, it's all practical. When you watch the film, you can see it's held up by wires, but it's got little antennae on the top.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of scenes that you can see the wires. It's held backwards by massive hydraulics. The whole of Aliens actually is with the Alien Queen is achieving practical effects through clever angles of shooting.
Yeah.
So you're hiding the tricks. It's so good. So good.
And again, the idea, like I was saying, how the first one laid a lot of the foundation for what came. The idea that these aliens, these xenomorphs that you see in this film, were those eggs from that first movie. I think it just has such a great continuity to it, and it kind of just marries the two movies together. Because technically, these creatures that you've seen, you've seen them in the first one. You've seen them when they were like embryos before they hatched. We were talking about that though, like how kind of much there is to the birthing process for an alien. Like it's a lot of effort. You have to hope someone looks over the egg, jump on their face, lay another egg, and then burst out the stomach, and then grow up into a big scary beast.
15 minutes.
Yeah, it's there's a process to it. There's a lot of steps.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a life cycle.
But once you
When did they die after the baby?
achieved it, yeah, exactly, yeah, and then you've got a day to kill as many people as you can, while really never moving. In the first film,
James Cameron says in the commentary of Aliens that the reason they could switch the lights off, I know we joke because they're only a day old, is because they've actually grown up and they've had weeks or months to learn how to do stuff.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
Whereas the first Alien was like a month.
Yeah. The second movie they should be a bit more wise, I guess. Yeah,
A bit more savvy. Yeah,
Well, the Queen operates the lift at the end.
exactly. Well, how can they turn off the lights? They're animals, man.
No, as the lift not automatic? Did they not show that already? That the lift does that anyway?
Well, no, there's definitely
she
definitely cocks her head and looks at the lift and steps in.
Yeah.
Or even I suppose she might just get into the lift, just as because she's seen Ripley, in there, so she.
Do we know how old the Queen is? How long she's been there? Because, I guess that could.
Yeah.
Because the Queen clearly understands when Ripley fires the flamethrower and then points at the eggs, she gets what's going down, and she tells the other alien henchmen to back off. So she knows what she's doing, I guess, to some extent.
This is the great maternal relationship in this film, which you actually get in the director's cut more. You really understand the maternal experience that Ripley's had, losing her daughter, who became older than her, which really explains why she has such a relationship with Newt when she meets Newt.
Yeah.
Which in the theatrical isn't put across so well. It just you never question it, but it's more explained.
It's just not as sort of fleshed out.
But then, of course, you have the two mothers at the end, as you say, and Ripley is saying, "Look, you can fuck with me, but I can screw with your children as well. So back off."
Well, that is the question, though. Like in terms of like morals and stuff, Ripley does make the decision to torch those eggs, How do we feel about that?
Damn straight.
Yeah, fine with that. Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. If other kids were bullying my kid, I'd torch their eggs too.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Dan, are you completely pro Xenomorph?
No. I'm just trying to gauge the room. That's all. Just trying to gauge the room
That's the
before
way
I
it's
say
coming
anything
across
else.
in Hive.
I mean, realistically, I think it's a bit of a waste of fuel because those eggs are not going to pose a threat long term. The place is about to blow up. So
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So-
Yeah, it's blown up anyway, and as long as you don't stick your head over it, then
But I mean, just to be sure.
yeah.
There's no harm in just being sure.
Well,
Just
yeah,
to really wind up the alien queen, I think I'll torch them before they get blown up.
Well, as Courtney says,
Again,
let's take off a new
that-
site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
That's what they end up doing.
that slightly comes across though as a decision made so that it will set up the chase. With the Queen chasing Ripley. If she hadn't have done that, would we have even had the situation with the power loader at the end fighting the Queen?
Yeah, and
Interesting.
firing the grenades into her birthing tube. That probably wound her up a bit.
Yeah. She throws the grenades. That's right. Yep.
Her ovipositor.
That's called a birthing tube. I
No,
think
it's called an ovipositor.
Right.
That scene of her detaching from that is really well done. Like the stringy
Yeah. Oh.
goo that's left, and really effective. Yeah.
That scene where there's flames going off, there's grenades going off, is so cleverly done. It's such a mixture of practical effects. You've got miniatures. You have actors on the scene. You have real flames in the foreground. You have a beam splitter doing some of the fire. You have a large fire offset, but there's angled mirrors, so you're filming the mirror instead of the actual fire. It's crazy how they had to piece this stuff together before CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. And as you said, I think the use of miniatures as well, that's something that has, when it's effectively used, ages well. And something that still holds up today, I think.
Yeah, let's talk in a minute about the end battle between Ripley and the Alien Queen, which is split between full scale and quarter scale miniature, and it's absolutely seamless.
And the use of like the force perspective and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you buy all of it.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of Aliens that doesn't really hold up. Really, the only thing I noticed was when they're going into land. Some of that.
Oh yeah, it's just the
some of that
composites
looks
are
a bit
pretty dopey there.
Yeah.
dodgy, but other than that, I thought it's almost all.
But it's only that scene where they're coming through, or they're coming off the Sulaco and flying through the clouds, where it's a composite. The stuff where they're using miniatures, where the drop ship comes into land, connects with the ground, the ramp goes down, the miniature APC comes out.
It's perfect.
And then in the background, you see in the foreground the APC coming towards you and the drop ship kind of peeling away. It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's very well done.
I really like this film.
I can tell.
Do you guys have a favourite character from the crew in Aliens?
Oh, God, yeah.
Well, of course, Ben was Hicks.
Because I'm the bigger brother, so
Yeah.
I claim the best character.
My older brother Nick was Hudson.
Who did you end up in?
I don't like to.
Were you Wizbowski?
No. I don't know why.
Where's
I was
Vasquez?
Vasquez. Yeah, I was Vasquez. So
Vasquez is cool.
yeah, she's cool, and she's got the better gun, I think.
And
Those
we will
guns
have
are
to talk
cool.
about the smart gun in a minute and how they design the weapons.
And the
But
better guns.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, Christ. All of the character work with the Marines is brilliant. That stuff where she's doing pull-ups and Drake comes through. Earlier on, I do have to say this, Sam. I do have to say this.
No, have you?
Yeah, right on, Vaz.
The nice scene as well with Bishop and Paxton's hand. I love that as well. And how he just screams through the whole thing. The whole time. Yeah.
Did that at school. That's one of those scenes though where you can see the rehearsals and they didn't move before it starts.
You can see the
clock
table
marks already.
Yeah.
But that sets up so nicely the next, the reveal that he's an android and.
Yeah.
Oh, it's beautifully done as well. It really mirrors the scene in Alien where you just have a single drop of milk coming down Ian Helm's face.
And he's a nice man, and she's so rude to him.
Who, Bishop?
Yeah.
She doesn't like Bishop. but she has her
I
reasons.
guess she doesn't like the cornbread either.
And then it went to advert. That's one of the ad breaks.
So it slipped into quoting thrust.
Guess that new lieutenant's done.
No, we can't just start quoting the whole film.
Okay, well, as we are quoting it, that Arcturian poontang, because in the first film, it's clear that they've never come across an alien life form.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time you get to Aliens, 57 years later, they're talking about... One, they've got their bug stompers, and it says we exterminate species on the sticker on the side of the dropship. But also they're talking about Arcturians. So they must have met other alien life forms by that point.
Very unsavoury.
Yeah.
Because they're saying that Arcturian poontang, and they say, well, but yours was a man. And he says, well, it doesn't matter, it's Arcturian, baby.
Yeah. I did notice that last night. Had you said that to me ever before, I wouldn't have known what we were talking about, but I did notice it last night. So, yeah. Well, and then we're off. I love that whole build-up's brilliant. And then the build-up where they're all getting their gear together, Apone's geeing them up, and they're all getting into
Oh, yeah, what a scene.
Brilliant.
We're going to conquer, and we're going to get some.
He's up again.
Get on the ready line, people. Move it out. Absolutely badasses. Come in.
Jesus, that's word for word.
Wow!
Oh, I could quote Apone all day. A day on the farms. No, a day in the Marine Corps is like a day on the farm. Every meal a banquet. Every paycheck a fortune. I love the Corps.
Yeah, brilliant.
So, something else I think that I do think is better about Aliens than Alien. I prefer the deaths in this movie. There's way more of them, and they are more... They're a bit less ambiguous. I think they're more clear. You know who's dead when, and you kind of see the outcome of it, and then we move on, and then there's a wee bit of trauma. Oh Jesus, that guy was my friend, but we need to deal with the situation, and I just think it's paced a bit better in terms of the deaths, maybe.
And what's really messed up in this film, I think, is like when they find the lady that's still alive.
Oh, it's yeah, right on.
And she comes out the wall and she's like, "Please kill me."
Yes,
like,
yeah.
That's new.
I mean, they should have listened though. They should have killed her, because I think they need a living host, right? So, yeah.
What's so good about that scene is it goes back to the first film, in the original script and in the director's cut. When Dallas is grabbed out of the air vents, he's not killed; he's cocooned. And in the original mythology of the films, the bodies then turn into eggs.
Right.
Which then Cameron changed when he invented the Alien Queen.
Yeah.
But in the deleted scene from Alien, that's in the special edition, the director's cut, Dallas says, "Kill me," and Ripley tortures him while he's still alive.
Okay.
And then when Ripley wakes up in that dream sequence, she's saying "kill me" before the fake chestburster. And then, Courtney, as you say, this amazing and terrible sequence of that woman who's being cocooned, and she's saying "kill me." It all ties together.
Yeah, yeah,
it does. But it also, sorry, don't go.
No, just because I just love the design of that when she's in that cocoon and the whole. I don't know. It looks so sticky and wet and shiny. Yeah, it's so effective. It's like cobwebs but gooey. Yeah, it just looks amazing.
It's a brilliant evolution of the chestburster as well, because in Alien it's just like a cylinder with the hint of some arms on the side. But I think it was definitely Sam Winston, but Alec Gillis and Tom Woodruff Jr. were working for Sam Winston Studios at the time, and they developed the idea of those arms so that the chestburster in this film has little arms to help pull itself out of the body. That works brilliantly as well.
Yeah, it's clever. Did you have a favourite character from Aliens?
Oh yeah, that was the question, wasn't it?
Because mine's is definitely... Yeah. mine's is definitely Hudson.
Yeah, I think mine's is either Hudson or Hicks, because I do like Hicks as well.
Yeah, I think...
Michael,
I think mine's has to be Hudson too.
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of those more established characters, hasn't it? So I'd probably... Yeah, I think I'd go for Hudson.
listen, Vasquez is a fair answer.
No.
She
Well,
actually, the actress, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. I don't know if you
Jeanette
guys know
Goldstein.
that. But, thanks. She was on a podcast called I Was There Too. And
Oh, yeah.
the idea of the podcast, it's like people that were extras in films and stuff. And she did an episode on aliens. I take it you've heard that. It's really, really good, really interesting.
Yeah, it's a great podcast until they put it behind a paywall.
Yeah, there's tons of insight in her episode. Yeah, really cool.
I'm a massive Ripley fan.
Yeah, but Ripley's always one of
I know, but like Sigourney Weaver, like paved, coming from an actor's point of view, she paved such a path for female actors with a role like that.
Her and Linda Hamilton, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. And nobody says, "God damn you!" like Sigourney Weaver.
God damn you!
Yeah.
Nobody else could say they get away from her, you bitch, like her either. That's her line, and she owns that line. So yeah,
that's right. I do just want to put a special mention in for the scene where they're where Burke sabotages the facehuggers and traps them in the medical room.
Oh, that
is just I think that's the best scene in the whole film. It's so good. It's so tense.
Yeah,
and we're back to practical effects again. Because to make those face huggers work, they had just pull rubber face huggers. They'd pull with fishing wire onto their face. The ones that run across the floor were pull toys with a wheel underneath, connected with cams to make the legs go.
Yeah.
They had like reverse footage, so as it jumps off the stool into her face, it's a series of 3 cuts. And the effects guy said. Yeah, the effects guy said you can't cut something coming straight towards the camera, then do a reverse shot because all the rain in the background won't make sense. It'll start looking
right.
And James Cameron said, "No, it'll be fine. It'll just be a texture because it's happening so quickly." And it's exactly, and it works perfectly. Right. It's amazing. That first one though, when it's thrown into corner and it jumps to its feet and then starts running back towards her. I don't know how they did that. It's so good.
Yeah, fantastic.
I think that scene was needed in the sense as well of the first one was very much, like we were saying, the things you don't see is the scariest part and etc. Whereas Aliens, you can kind of, where the aliens are coming from most of the time. There's not that much sneaking up on characters as much as there's in the first one. Whereas when you get that facehugger scene and you don't know where it is in the room, it brings back that element of the thing you don't see, where is it?
That's right. Yeah,
I think that really adds to injects a wee bit of horror into what is mostly an action film for that second movie.
Yeah, so that's the question though. Do we think this is a horror film or an action film or a horror/action film?
Nah, it's an action film, isn't it? Really,
it's an action.
I'd say it's action sci-fi with horror elements. That's
I think you've broken it down perfectly there. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going. Yeah, fair enough, Daniel. You've done it.
I'm going with that.
So yeah, I guess I've got anything else to say about Aliens other than the fact that it is an influential film and the fact that it did again kind of, I guess, boosted Cameron's career. Like Cameron had already made Terminator, but to go from this to just 4 years later making Terminator 2, like that's crazy. Like what a credit, what a list on his IMDb when you go through his early movies. It's like, geez, this guy was just hitting it out of the park, film after film.
He really was. Yeah, and they just were getting bigger and better.
Yeah,
no, I disagree with you there. They don't get bigger and better. Terminator 2 is bigger, but it's not better than Aliens.
But it is bigger.
Oh.
No, I will say this. I'll say this about Cameron. There's no one else has done a 1-2 punch like he did here.
Yeah.
Obviously, he didn't direct Alien, but he directed Aliens, which is a 1-2 punch.
And when was The Abyss?
That was in between Aliens and Terminator 2 because that's the CGI water pseudopod.
That's quite a good film, isn't it?
But the 1-2 punch of the Terminator and Terminator 2, the man's responsible for 2 of the greatest sequels of all time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you know how much I love Terminator 2.
Terminator 2 is excellent.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah. When pubs were open, I used to go to them. As you know, I'd just put on Terminator 2. Yes, there's a public house. That's where you used to go to.
That's right. I didn't know. I didn't know if you said pub.
What do you think I said?
Pub, did you?
Yes, pub.
Pub. Yeah.
I would get back after having a few beers, listen to some music, throwing some darts. Beers, yeah, it's a fermentation process. Darts?
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is I used to put on Terminator 2 a lot.
Get out, fair play.
Oh, yeah. It's even better with a few beers in you. That's definitely true.
What isn't?
Aye, because that's the case for most films, I guess. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, Aliens is a fantastic film. I think I might still prefer the first. I don't know. It's very close.
The first is definitely a better made film, whereas the second one's more enjoyable.
I find it actually quite hard to compare them because they are such companion pieces. Like together, that is like the one amazing film that's got two different elements to it. That is just such an enjoyable experience and something that holds up to this day, I think.
Yeah, and Aliens took the foundation laid by Alien and just built on it and added just basically more of everything. So yeah, I think they work well together. I mean, I prefer Aliens, but I do think that together they form a perfect,
duo,
if you will.
But here was James Cameron's pitch to 20th Century Fox, allegedly. There was a board up there, a whiteboard or a chalkboard, I'm not sure. And he wrote Alien and then put an S on the end and then put two vertical lines through the S to make the dollar sign.
Really?
I think that might be an urban myth, but
I hope that's true.
Yeah, well, that's basically how it panned out, so.
Yeah, money, money, money. Must be funny in a rich
But
man's world.
Funnily enough, though, when you guys talk about Terminator, it's amazing how these two films, clearly the best two, were the first two in each franchise. And it's funny how that's kind of a weird parallel in Cameron's career. It's like they were never able to reach the heights of that second movie again in either franchise.
No.
Oh, well,
Which is kind of mad.
3, Rise of the Machines is a disgrace.
Well, but it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult to... You take the first film and you take something that's already very, very good and you make it better. Maybe. But to make something better again, and to keep people interested, and to make it original, it's very difficult to keep it going.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what you shouldn't do if you want to keep it going. Don't kill Hicks and you.
Don't cast a load of relative unknown English actors.
Who are all bald, so you can't tell them apart.
Yeah.
What I would recommend people do who listen to this is look at the Dark Horse comic run that came after this, which extended extended the story after Aliens, where Newt's grown up, Hicks is still alive, Ripley's in it. It's Bell's River Run.
I should just say I do really like Alien 3, so I won't hear a bad word about it.
Fine. I do like Alien 3 as well.
I think it's a messy film. I don't think it's necessarily a bad film, but it's a messy film.
And I thought so.
I wouldn't bother. I mean,
I would.
No, I wouldn't. I'd stop at, if you hadn't seen Alien 3, I'd say stop at Aliens.
Yeah, you've seen the good too. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Stop.
Okay.
Stop. Deprive yourself of a fantastic movie.
Now, before we go into this off the ledge
you
quiz,
said this to me about the Scream movies, and I love all of the Scream movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Worst.
I've only seen the first 2.
Yeah, I think I've only seen the first
Again,
one.
don't bother with the rest.
No,
Well, the new one's good.
The new
The new one's good. Yeah,
4's pretty good.
new one's solid. 4's okay.
I love Scream.
Sorry, Ben, were you going to say something there?
Now I've got something else to say about this rebranding of horror films. You don't call a horror film the same thing as it was originally called.
Yep, agreed.
Because then you have to say the new Scream or the new Halloween.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
100%.
Yeah.
Call it something else. Call it I'm all for taking, and I would be all for with the Alien franchise, redoing Alien 3 after Aliens, it was Neil Blomkamp who was going to do that.
Yeah. That's right.
Still alive, Rip's still alive, and then it didn't come to fruition because Ridley Scott wanted to do Covenant, I think. But don't. I'm all for that, but call it something else because I don't want to say the new Halloween or the new Scream.
Don't know.
I'm a bitter old man.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. Like, and you have to see when you write it, you have to put the year, like whatever year it came out. Yeah, too much work, too much effort.
How would you guys feel about a brand new Aliens film coming out?
Like a
No.
like a reboot.
Yeah, like new Scream. What if there was like a new Alien?
Well, there's still Alien Covenant was the last one, right? That was 2018.
Yeah, but I mean, like.
But that was a sequel to Prometheus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is my feeling on the Aliens films is it's not actually the alien I'm interested in as much as the characters.
Yeah.
So I love the characters in Alien and the way they interact, and I really believe in the relationships. I really believe in the characters and relationships that the Marines have in the second film. The second film's called Alien.
Well, that and the quality of the filmmaking as well, because the filmmaking in the first two is brilliant.
The filmmaking...
Now, are we just talking about milking a franchise for all it's worth?
Well, conceivably,
that's what worries
That's Hollywood.
That's Hollywood for you, baby.
Where the problems came is in Alien 3 when you couldn't tell the characters apart. And I'm not that fussed about the alien.
No, well, the alien is not that likable.
No, he's a toxic character.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
But I think, Courtney, the answer to your question is...
The aliens. Yep.
Don't ask Ben that.
Yeah. Oh, God. I think the answer is yes. But it has to be well written and it has to have good characters.
Exactly. It has to be well written. It has to have good characters. It has to be well made.
And I need another way.
There's a final question. If you had to get a director or writer-director to come on and make another Aliens film now, who would you go for?
James Cameron.
Going for Cameron.
Did you just
James
call him
Cameron?
Jennifer Cameron?
No, I tell you who I'd like to give another roll of the dice.
Yep.
Fincher.
Yeah.
You see? He's come on leaps and bounds since Aliens.
He has. He's made a few good films since then, that.
He has. So let's give it back to him.
I
That's
don't.
a shame.
Yeah, and let him be in charge. Don't let the studio take over and do it at Alien 3. Yeah,
exactly. What's the point in giving it to a very young filmmaker and then tying his hands?
Yeah.
I think I'd like to give it to a 44-year-old film director called Ben Townsend.
I'd watch your cut, Ben.
You are a very inexperienced filmmaker, though.
I haven't even done commercials like everyone else has done.
Then tie your legs and your hands.
Right, you're in. It's me and Courtney.
The dream team.
Our combined name will be Bortney.
Happy with that?
I would like to see Denis Villeneuve take it on after Arrival.
No.
And Blade Runner 2049. I would like to see him take on an Alien sequel. I think that would be interesting.
It's me and Ben.
Well, we'll have Denis Villeneuve do one of them.
and then
we'll do
the
next one. And then we'll get the Oscar and he can sit and cry in the audience.
Do you have a director that you would like to see with an Aliens film? Taika.
That would be so interesting. The alien would be so many different colours.
Yeah, he could Thor Ragnarok, the next Alien film.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, has anyone got any last minute thoughts on Aliens before we move on? Obviously, it's an iconic film. We all enjoy it, but I don't know. Is there anything left to say? I mean, I feel like it's also because of the age of the film and because of the status of the film. It's been spoken about so much over the years. There's so much content out there on it. It's like, what else do you say about something like Aliens?
Yeah, I've got about an hour's worth.
Yeah.
It's in my top 3 films, and I cannot see it going any lower than top 3.
Yeah,
until the day I die.
Wow. But even if now you've said that, if you watched a film that you preferred that could possibly push it into 4th, would you admit it?
No,
publicly.
No. Not now.
I appreciate that honesty.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. So
I'm okay with our film being sitting at number 4 for you. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's true. Oh my god, yeah, our sequel. The Courtney sequel, the Courtney directed sequel, sitting below it.
Sitting at 4.
Well, it will be below It's a Wonderful Life, The Wicker Man, Aliens, and then obviously our
Terminator
new
2.
film. Well, no, obviously I prefer mine and Courtney's film.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
prefer our film. You might not. That's fine. That's okay. But me and Ben will.
I'll write a review for it. So.
Can't wait.
Actually, me and Dan could do the podcast on it.
Yeah, we'll do the companion piece, definitely.
Yeah.
Courtney, let's not go on. Let's be too aloof.
No, we don't want you on. We don't.
Yeah, we're two Oscar winners. You can't have us on.
Yeah.
Who do you think
We'll get James Cameron and Ridley Scott on.
You know exactly who I am.
The man on the street. Right, okay, we are going to launch into the next section of the podcast, which is a quiz. We are going to do Ben versus
and pens.
I'm so excited.
I only need you won't need paper. It's really not that in detail. I'll keep a wee score as we go.
You wrote this quiz.
So, basically, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you a review from letterboxd.com, which is a sort of a review site which has no sort of filters. Anyone can post a review. It can be a super in detailed essay. It can be one sentence. It can have nothing to do with the film in question. I'm going to read a short review from the website for either Aliens 1 or Aliens 2, Alien or Aliens, and you guys have to tell me which it is.
Cool.
And we will I think we'll go until someone gets to 3 points, and we'll declare that person the winner. If you both get to 3 points, we'll go to sudden death.
Okay,
That
right.
would be really fun.
Yes. So I think we'll start with Sam, if that's okay. I'm
Okay.
feeling like starting with Sam here.
Automatically picked up my pen. Don't need it.
So yes, Ben versus Sam. The first review. You have to tell me what movie this is from.
Okay.
Out of 2 movies, Alien and Aliens. This is
50-50
a review by someone called Tim Kopp, and the review reads, "Did the math, and I do believe on a purely technical level, get away from her, you bitch, does in fact pass the Bechdel test."
Yes.
Fuck you, Dan.
Aliens.
Aliens. Well done, 1 point, Sam. I'm easing you into this, right? I'm easing you into this. It's going to get harder.
Well,
Okay.
I hope my question has a direct quote from the film Alien.
Oh, don't forget that.
Over to Ben. Ben, this review is from someone called Demi, and it reads, "If you're going into space, I think you should leave your cat at home. He does not need the stress."
I'm bringing dog instead.
Right, it's in both, but I will go for Alien.
You are correct.
Hooray!
Well done. That is Alien.
Boom, boom, shake, shake the room.
Okay, so we're on equal footing here. This could
Hang on.
go anywhere at this point.
All of my knowledge, all of my research, all of the stuff I've built up over the years and jammed into my brain about these 2 films almost means nothing on this quiz.
Courtney, would you like to read one for Sam?
Yeah.
You say that, but there might be an obscure fact built in.
I
You
see
also
you
don't
getting
need
closer
that.
to your microphone.
Yeah. That one. Right. Okay.
I don't need what?
The
Oh, right, okay.
right. Okay. Courtney's going to read the next review.
Okay, so this
I'm
is
ready.
from someone called Kiara. And it says, "The fact that the alien murders all the white men first is so funny. What a woke queen."
Alien.
Correct.
Well done, Sam. Alien.
Frost gets killed very early on.
In Aliens.
In
Yeah, but the alien doesn't kill Frost.
No,
He
he
gets
falls over
killed.
the balcony.
Yeah, he falls over the balcony because of the explosion. He gets knocked over by the alien that picks up Dietrich, doesn't he?
Well, anyway.
Then Wazowski
2-1.
gets killed.
Over to you.
Don't punch me on my Batman side.
Sorry.
Okay. Courtney's going to read the next one for Ben now as well.
Okay. So, Ben, this is from a reviewer called Dean M. "If all my babies were burned in front of me, I would also rip my egg sac and take an elevator up 50 floors to fuck shit up."
First of all, I'd like to thank 50s crooner Dean Martin for this review. But it is Aliens.
Dean Martin. Yes, it is Aliens.
Okay.
Right.
well
So
done.
well,
That's my business partner right there.
We're
What,
on.
me
we're
or
on,
D. Martin?
It's sudden death.
We're
It's
on
not sudden
2-all,
death.
so this
It
could go
is.
to sudden death at this point.
It's already sudden death.
No,
quite
it's
right.
it's 2-all. Yeah, well, yeah, okay, it's already sudden death.
It's England versus Scotland. Apart from we're both English and you're both Scottish.
Okay, here we go.
Right.
He's staring at me.
Right, I'm going to read. Now, listen, I didn't say it about psychology tactics. If you want to, I'm not in that room. I can't referee that shit. If you want to distract each other, that's nothing to do with me.
I'm just gonna peruse this book while you ask the questions. No, hang on. I'll tell you what. I'll peruse this book.
Oh no,
That might help. Hang on.
Maybe not.
No, maybe I'll peruse this book, which might help.
Maybe
or
not.
no, hang on. I might peruse this book while you read the questions.
Oh, maybe not.
Or I might peruse.
Oh, if he can pick it up, it's a big one.
It's heavy.
Jesus Christ. We keep prepared.
Hang on, I'll show you my book.
All right, well, you can read
Well,
my
it's
book.
2-all.
Let's get everything on it.
That's
2-all.
exactly.
Okay.
I love you, Tyler. You can read my books.
This one is for Sam again, and it's from someone called Liam F. The review reads, I probably would have liked this movie more if the cat had more screen time, to be perfectly honest.
That's easy.
It's cat-based again.
Cat-based again, yep.
Alien.
That's wrong.
That is wrong, Sam. It's Aliens, I'm afraid.
Oh, brother
is-
soul!
That is a review from Aliens.
What?
So now,
Yeah,
No.
if you'd only looked in my big book, that review from Liam F was in there.
I can't believe it.
In what film has Jones got more screen time?
Fuck you.
listen, I can understand it because I was thinking about saying something that would throw you off. You know, going for a review. You know, that's
Oh,
but then I thought
It's
that's
from Aliens 3.
yeah, yes. Give you an Alien v Predator Requiem review just to absolutely mess you up.
Do you watch the YouTube channel Mr. Sunday Movies, Dan?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Big fan. Yeah.
yeah. I've seen this kind of thing before.
Yeah, I totally didn't steal this from anywhere. It's a totally original idea.
He stitches Meso up all the time.
Right, Courtney's going to read this review.
Okay, here we go.
My doesn't watch this episode.
This is
My
the
directing
decider.
partner.
This is the decider for the competition. If Ben gets this, you're the knowledge master of all things alien.
Oh, don't say that, Dan. Jesus.
Too late. Can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Okay, Ben, this is for Team Bortney, okay?
Team Bortney, I'm with you.
And it's from a reviewer called Ethan. And he said,
Ethan.
still find it odd that in the future, androids run on cum.
That could be either. Fuck.
I'm channeling it to you, Ben. Because I can see you on the screen what one it is.
Where's just trying to think where it's thickest. In what film is it thickest?
Where's what thickest?
The milk to look more like.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say
I
that.
can't say that word in
No,
front
not
of
the
Courtney's
word.
mouth. Okay, well let's go with Alien.
Oh my god, it worked. Courtney channeled that through the internet to Ben, and he is right.
Under the bridge downtown, is where I drew some blood.
Well played, man.
Yeah.
Well done, Ben. That was
I'm
so
devastated.
that was so intense that our camera broke there, and the webcam had to go off and on again. So that was a beautiful finish.
Can you just remind me of my new title?
It was the knowledge master of all things alien, I believe.
Lovely.
Jesus, I'm never
Sam,
gonna
if you
hear
could
the
get
end of
that
it.
printed up for me.
Yeah, you should get a plaque made up.
I'll get a tablecloth made up.
You
so
will
can
as well.
straggle with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Just as a wee bonus, I'm just going to read this review that I've seen. This is a review for Aliens, and the review reads, on my 10th rewatch of this movie, I am now on the Xenomorph side. Trans icon, why not? Letterboxd is great.
She is a queen.
Some of the stuff on here is phenomenal. Yeah, just nice just to browse that shit. But yeah, I think unfortunately as I came to the end of this episode, I've really enjoyed this.
That was thoroughly enjoyable, boys.
Yeah, it's been great fun.
Thanks again for coming on, lads, and thanks for picking Alien because it was good to revisit it and talk about it.
It's been our absolute pleasure. As I said to you, Dan, if you want us back on to talk about the Terminator franchise,
we will sure as shit take you up on that offer.
Guys, we should all talk about Scream.
Yes, exactly.
We'll wait until we're desperate for content.
I'll start watching them straight away.
Yeah, you guys could talk about Scream and we'll sit here looking confused.
No, by the end of it, I will be the knowledge master of all things Scream.
Get studying. But yeah, genuinely, I know I mentioned it at the top, but I implore anybody that's got this far on this episode, if you enjoyed Ben and Sam on this episode, which I certainly did, go and check out the Universally Speaking podcast. They have just released an episode on the new album, Unlimited Love, which I've not heard yet, and I cannot wait to hear their thoughts on that record in detail. So yeah, there will be links in the description on YouTube and the show notes on the podcatchers. Check them out. Good guys, fantastic podcast.
I can also vouch for the podcast as not a massive Chili's fan. These guys are masters at podcasting.
Regardless of whether you band as much as they do, you will have a great time listening to that podcast. I guarantee you.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We both feel very embarrassed.
It's been a pleasure. I'm going to hide behind one of Ben's big books.
Right, cheers for that.
Been fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks for listening, folks. You can subscribe to the Pop Shop podcast. Leave us a comment.
Please.
Like it, share it, do all that good stuff. Just have one in the background. It all helps. Even if you hate this thing and you want to give us a dislike, it's all engagement. So batter in. But I don't see why anyone would dislike this episode because it was really good. So yes, we will, without a doubt, have Ben and Sam back on at one point down the road. But for now, cheers, all the best, and see you on the next page.